Welcome, everybody. This is Hugh Massie, the chairman and founder of DNA Behaviour International. And today I'm delighted to be hosting another one of our identity conversations. And I have the great pleasure to have with me Kobus Barnard from South Africa. And Kobus is the CEO and founder of Allegiance Software. He's built over the last 23 or so years a fantastic fintech platform, financial planning software for wealth managers, advisors in South Africa. And I know that the platform can go global. So it's very exciting days, Kobus, to be talking to you.
Oh, thank you very much, Hugh. And it's an absolute pleasure to be here. And thank you for the opportunity to share a little bit about ourselves.
So that's a pleasure. So just to get us started, Kobus, why don't you tell me a little bit more about your life and career background and how you got to into the place of being a lawyer firstly, and then coming across and developing this software that's having such a big impact.
I'm still wondering about that myself. So I think we started about 23 years ago, or a little bit more than 23 years ago. And we were three partners, all legal backgrounds, studied law, specialized in tax, and then later specialized in business. But as I went through my studies in law, I guess I realized that although I had a passion for fairness, a real deep drive for protecting those who don't have voices, and standing up for those who don't stand up for themselves, I had this, I don't know, it's just a natural thing in me, wanting fairness, chasing that thing that we never will get. But so I studied law, and from there, my first official job was at the deeds office in South Africa. So that's unfortunately a very boring work. And I saw that my soul was dying because I'm not an administrator. And I did that while I studied. From there, my very first real job was, I think, a legal advisor with one of the life companies. The prospect of working with very successful people and in a sales environment, it just connected with me. So I joined Sanlam, which is a big life company in South Africa, as a legal advisor. And I just fell in love with this industry. And what is great about being a legal advisor for one of the life companies is you get to meet the creme de la creme of clients. Normally the advisors would, you kind of go and fill in a gap between, sometimes advisors might have a confidence gap or a skills gap. There might be a very specific thing, a legal structure that we had to kind of conjure up to make sure a wealth structure that served the client's needs. So you create an environment, and in that environment, so it was a very interesting learning curve for us, for me personally. And probably one of the best jobs ever, being a consultant. And normally here, and I still get excited when I talk about it. And that is when you go out and you see clients, and mostly business clients, and you see what they've done. And I think I've seen probably thousands of businesses in South Africa as a consultant, sitting right next to the advisor and trying to engage with clients, trying to solve their specific problems. And that was a fantastic journey. I studied quite a lot, but my real learning came from those engagements. Seeing, and it kind of humbled me, the success that people achieved. But you walk into businesses and then you kind of see some businesses, you think these people are going somewhere, and some businesses you walk in and you think in 30 years I'm going to come back and it's going to look exactly the same. Nothing's going to change. it was an exciting thing for me. But my learning school was sitting next to financial advisors. They brought their genius, and wealth managers, they brought their genius managing that relationship with clients. So I was on this fantastical journey. But as a legal advisor, the one thing that we struggled with, and we served with a small company, we served about 3,000 intermediaries. One of the channels, independent financial intermediaries, on behalf of some of the corporates. And one of the big things that we struggled with was capacity. So we had financial advisors, and I might be a little bit biased when I say this, but they loved us because we were rainmakers for them, and we loved them. It was this beautiful symbiotic relationship where all the parties won. And clients kind of appreciated that we came as independent from the person earning the commission and very independent from the person selling the product. So clients immediately, it elevated how they saw us. But our problem was capacity. We had one complaint that never went away. And that was, I can't wait 2 or 3 months for an appointment. And that was an extremely valid complaint. So the moment you talk about humans, so we had at one stage 14 legal advisors working for us, serving this community. But so it's expensive resources, brainy loaners, all with their own ideas and own passions and own flair. And I had to try and manage these legal advisors. And if you've ever thought it's easy running a business, try having 12 legal advisors as your partners around the same table. So there were days where we had arguments and debates for about 3 or 4 hours whether we should place an advertisement. So we had this very, I would say, dysfunctional board, but it was fun. It was a great amount of fun. But software and systems, it was like the universe was, without sounding, I'm not trying to sound self-important, but it was like I had this nagging thought. I was always the hobbyist programmer. Programming and systems, it fascinated me. It really fascinated me. So, and that was from school. So I remember when there was still, when you had to start a PC with a floppy. Yeah. And later stiffies. I mean, it was insane. I was fascinated by this. I knew that this was going to change the world. It was going to change everything. And I was excited to be part of that journey. And for some or other reason, I did not go into that. I selected law about that, above that. But it's that's not how the universe works. And in my mind, I had this calling. Even when we started Allegiance, I wrote the billing system, and then it wasn't perfect at all. But I was always involved in systems, and for me, systems held the promise of scale. So, and that was the bridge for me. So we had a massive restructure in 2003, end of 2003, 2004, where we unbundled the business, and eventually I bought out the remaining partners. And I thought, from this legal consulting business, which I loved every moment, but the problem that I wanted to solve is getting to more people with a good story, a good narrative. And there's a simple recipe for scale. If you want to scale anything, you have to simplify. Now, you try and simplify in a team of brainy learners, where they believe that you cannot replace human advice. we've been paid for expert advice all our lives. You can't replace that with machines, but simplify, standardize, and automate. Now, this may seem obvious today, but 12 and 15 years ago, it wasn't as obvious. It's just a pattern that we try to follow. So I thought, if you get a financial plan, eventually it's data in and you get an output, and the more intelligent you build that output, the closer it will look like the advice that we give one-on-one, extremely highly personalized. So eventually we took there were software companies offering financial planning ware and platforms. So we took a portion of advice, business assurance, which nobody touched in terms of systems, because it was quite a mix of different taxes, and there were some complexities. I really made a proper effort to research the problem. We created a prototype in Excel and Word. We offered it for free for a year for one of the life companies. And we started a small exercise, and it grew and it grew. And within a year, it was a national test. By the end of the year, we went back to this corporate. We said to them, so we want to actually take this process that we've automated with one person in the back office with Word and Excel, and we automated that, and we wanted to test the idea. And they said, well, you've been a vendor for over a decade, so we trust what we've seen. They had 3 questions. So, and we promised them that we will identify roughly 3 billion rands worth of life cover opportunities with this exercise. And they said, we said that we will build this system, a web-based system, in 6 months. We will build it within a specific budget that we asked, and we will identify about 3 billion rands worth of life cover opportunities. They said that, number one, we're not going to build it in 6 months, most certainly not within that budget that we are requesting. But they are very curious about the 3 billion life cover opportunities. So, and then one last question, and it was a group of highly skilled, very clever people around the table. And then they said, Kobus, just tell us this. You're a lawyer type. What the hell do you know about systems? And I said, I don't know about systems, but I know how to get the right people to build the systems. So we built the system in 6 months. We built it within the budget, and we didn't do 3 billion in the first year. We did 10. So that created a good story, a very good story, because I've seen so many business plans where you can make yourself a millionaire on Excel easily, 10 times over. But when it comes to the real business on the ground, it always fails the plan. It doesn't meet the plan. And that's how our story started. We literally emptied the garage. I took off the suit, which was very strange for me because it was like my battle dress. Took off the suit, and I went into the garage together with one developer. We had 2. Within 3 months, we had 2 developers and myself in the garage, and we just ironed out the problem. My first insight was that technology means absolutely nothing if you don't solve a business problem. Yeah. And my journey was about learning the business problem. What I studied and my background, it kind of articulated, I could see the business problem. I saw the university of life that money cannot buy. And that is walking around business clients, seeing what they're doing. And everybody has got some piece of genius. And I had the absolute privilege to learn from advisors selling to clients. I could see that journey. I could understand how difficult it was to get an appointment with a client. And if you have that opportunity to sit in front of the client, it's like gold. You have to maximize the benefit for the client, and you have to maximize your own benefit, the opportunity. You have to maximize the opportunity. So I realized how valuable that opportunity is. And that's how our journey started. I'm sorry that I took such a long answer.
No, I knew that you were going to an end point there, and I thought it was good to let you go, because it completes a very good picture, and I think there's a very good lesson in here for anybody that is wanting to become an entrepreneur, build software, in that you had a lot of experience over an extended period of time before you actually rolled the sleeves up and, as you said, went into the garage, probably in your pajamas, and certainly the tech developer was probably in his or hers, but
you got it right.
yeah. Well, you and I have had that conversation before, but because I know you're a suit man and it's hard to take off your suit, but I think that people rush into building software because they've got this idea, and then it's not very functional. It looks great and sexy, but it actually doesn't do anything. And I think that's the thing, and it is about a process. And so so I think you're to be congratulated for that. And also, I know that this is very powerful what you've done and the way you went about it, because Microsoft wouldn't write a story about you, in their collateral, if you hadn't done all the right things. And I think that's a huge testament. And I hope that everybody listening to this hears that, because that's a very big tick in the box. But it seemed to me, as I was listening to you, Kobus, that scalability was a motivation for building the software. There was scarcity of top-notch advisors to be able to, or consultants to be able to support the advisors in providing, the more complex advice that the business owners and the clients needed. So it seemed to me that was one motivation here. But I wonder whether it was something you said at the start that I thought was interesting, that you see yourself as somewhat as a protector of the person with no voice, and wanting to provide a better service for the individual that they might not otherwise get, and to be protected through the advice they get. So I just thought that's something interesting, and that I would, get you to sort of expand on that a bit.
That was most certainly number one. We were truly humbled by the fact that Microsoft did an article on us. We were humbled about that, and we're certainly very small and a tiny company. So hopefully one day we will make that article or bring justice to that article. The second thing is, that was a big motivation. Fairness is a big motivation for me, and it is a motivation, and I think it was one of the big driving forces and the reasons why I went into law. And it, I think, and it's being a good presence means a couple of things for me personally. That good presence is about kindness, never arrogant, never. You can't be arrogant ever about anything, simply because I think there's so much to learn and so much that we don't know yet. And then sometimes I don't know, it's just, it's not something I planned. It's not something that and I think it's in most humans, being a good presence means that if something happens in front of you where people are treated unfairly, or where people don't have a voice, I think it comes naturally to most humans, and if not all, to say, but we want to step in, and sometimes we don't have the courage, and I certainly don't always have the courage to step in, but sometimes we don't have the courage, and sometimes we don't have the energy. But I think we all have that feeling here in our hearts right there to say, you kind of want to protect the vulnerable. And I think that's not, it doesn't stop at humans. I think it doesn't stop at, it's all sentient beings, all living beings.
Because people are vulnerable at the end of the day, whether they have a lot of money or don't have a lot of money. You know, we talked about sort of before the red line for when does a person have well-being or not have well-being financially, you know, and as a baseline for happiness in South Africa. And let's say, you know, it is 300,000 Rand a year or 20,000 US dollars. It's a different number in America where I am right now. But, you know, people could have 10 times that in their income or their assets, but they're still vulnerable. They still need protecting. And people that don't have money and are below the poverty line or below the well-being line, they're also vulnerable too. And they, you know, a path needs to be found to help them. But, you know, part of why I'm drilling into this, Kobus, is because I see two purposes here. One being the scalability, you know, using the software to deliver a higher grade service to many more people, because there isn't the manpower to do it. But it seemed to me the deeper purpose was for you is providing protection for people. It was a bit like myself when I left Arthur Andersen and I went out to find myself as a 30-year-old as an entrepreneur, and I didn't walk out straight into something set up for me. I went and set up in the end a wealth management business. But the principle I always wanted to be was the champion of the investor, which did lead me to wanting to help people become more self-empowered, which has lived with me ever since, you know, and that was through having a better relationship to money, because I could see that was the problem. The software helps me get to millions of people potentially, and hopefully more. But it seemed to be that's the deeper purpose that's there. So that's just why I've sort of was drilling in on that with my questions. So that's all.
Hugh, so I have never thought about the purpose like that, and it is amazing that you've picked up on it. It is certainly a driving force. It's part of who I am, but I will definitely not claim to be the protector of people. Not at all. I would say for me it was. I think you've hit the nail on the head by saying empowering people. I think our journey evolved so where it was very much a technical. Our background was very much technical. So getting the structures right, making sure the advice is safe, making sure that clients can really kind of be empowered with the right advice at the right time, making sure that the outcomes are as predicted and as they expect. And it went, for me, it went wider than the investment or the investment outcomes. But I can tell you now that my experience is we evolved from this technical solutioning business, which gave us, I think, a very strong financial engineering foundation. Yeah. So we understood the financial engineering side, but to me, I think we evolved from this technical engagement, modeling software to be this advanced technical solutions, right through to, and I think, and I'll maybe just share one or two anecdotes from our consulting, and we've got so many war stories that I could share, but and I'm going to start with this. One day I was called out as a consultant, just to put this in perspective. I was called out as a consultant to facilitate a retirement of somebody that has worked, and this is quite long ago. It was early in my career, so I was still very young and pretty stupid as well. There was a lack of wisdom. I had technical expertise, but very little wisdom. So I came out to this person, and he worked in a mine for 39 years. He basically worked, after 2 years, he went to school, finished his schooling, and had a break of 2 years, and then started working. So he was working 39 years for this mine underground. And I was asked to facilitate this client's retirement. This client wanted to retire early. I think he was 58 or 59, can't remember. And I knew the numbers. If he stuck at the job for another 2 or 3 years, it would significantly change his retirement package. It would significantly change the numbers. And I asked this client, so why do you want to retire early? And he said that he was unhappy. And I said, but is did the work that you're doing change? No, he said, no, he's still working underground after 39 years. And I said, oh, did your reporting channels change? Did your boss change? No, same boss. No, not for 39 years, but nothing changed recently. And I said, but then please help me. How long have you been unhappy? No, 39 years. So I only realized later in life what that client told me. If I had that same client today, and this literally happened about 22 years ago, I was still fresh as a legal advisor. I thought I did a wonderful job doing cash flows to the T, to the 8th decimal, showing the client that if you retired, you just held on for another year or 2 or 3, your numbers would change dramatically. If I saw that client today, the discussion would be, get in my car, I'm driving you to the personnel office, I'm handing in your resignation today. Because life is too short. So I think our evolution from this technical approach to financial engineering to just helping clients make better financial decisions, and evolving even further from that, empowering advisors to help their clients discover and live a remarkable life. And the discover portion is extremely important in there, and the living a remarkable life is extremely important in there. And it's so much more than just money. And I only realize that the older I get, the more I realize that. So, and I think that it's maybe not, I don't see myself as this grand protector, but much rather, it's definitely a deep driver, but it's much rather, there's so much more to life than this zombie lifestyle. Eat, work, sleep, and there's TV in between there as well.
I think part of it is like me in a lot of ways, but maybe, from a slightly different place, you're wanting to raise people's consciousness about themselves, empower them, which if you empower people, they will have more scope or capacity to protect themselves, by empowering them. And I think that's part of what the software does. But for you, it's gone beyond that to helping people want to live a remarkable life. That's which means happiness is wrapped up in that. That's a really key point. And when you're younger and you were building the software, I suppose 20 years ago, and I think even until now, the conversation about money has been about investment and making a financial plan, and very little regard to all the soft side of it, which is really actually the hardcore side of it, which is happiness. And as I've said to you earlier today about health, they're things that we pay lip service to, but haven't really thought through the impact of. But
yes.
But now it's coming out, and I think that's just a natural evolution. And so, but that's the bigger purpose to me with the Allegiance software sitting there, than it is totally about its technical accuracy or the engines that sit underneath it or anything like that, you know. And I think in a way, you know, if we talked about your identity, a lot more of it's wrapped up in helping people have a remarkable life. You know, so that's the thing. So just a couple of questions, Kobus, as you know, in terms of your DNA behavior style, you're an initiator, very driven, innovative entrepreneur, take risks, goal-driven, resilient. You know, when you got to understand your own and style, how did you, you know, what did it made you think or feel about yourself for this journey of getting people to live a remarkable life, building scalable platforms, you know, having to do all the learning to get there and do that?
So first, it was kind of spooky seeing the outcome. When I went through the process, it was kind of spooky, and I wanted to see the process. And I'll tell you now our interest in DNA behavior, how it started. But the first thing I did is I wanted to go through the process and just see what your process, what DNA behavior could tell me about myself. So it was spooky. It was spooky how it was like magic. How I recognized some of myself in the good parts and the not so good parts. So it was a really valuable process to go through. But so that was interesting for me, and I did recognize definitely a lot of me in there. But our purpose was, we know that if we want to help people discover this remarkable life, finance is exactly as we discussed earlier, Hugh, and that is money doesn't bring happiness, but to a level, if you are below the breadline, it certainly makes happiness very, very difficult. And if you are too concerned about other things, but it does, the happiness component tapers off very, very quickly.
Yeah.
So the one thing that I observed, and also I did a lot of research, not research, I think more reading. I think it was more reading, and you kind of learn stuff while you read it, and that is human behavior brings quite a significant tax to their finances, and it brings a significant tax to the things they want to achieve in life. So if we say that we want to help clients first off discover a remarkable life, because it's clear that people don't always know what they want. That whole process first becomes silent and aware, and then from the awareness, I think past the awareness, you have to kind of discover what it is that you want from life, and then you have to commit. You obviously plan and commit to what you want to do, but we sabotage ourselves, whether it's doing something simple like a budget, doing something simple like setting a goal and sticking to that goal. And it is exceptionally difficult because we're human. I think it's not character. It is because we are human that I can't see Kobus 40 years from now, because my context and my perceptions would have changed. My consciousness would have changed. So I'm trying to figure out what is it that I need 40 years from now. And the one thing I know I need is I need health, I need time, and I need money. So the money thing is actually simple calculations. We can make it very complex, but it is, we focused on the money, and our deepest, sincere purpose was to try, how do we get people to make better financial decisions? Hopefully we can show them insights. If we can show them insights, and if you can do that in a picture, even better. insights would lead to better decisions. And if you do that consistently, ultimately that will lead to a person leading the life that they might want to live. So human behavior messes that up if we don't understand ourselves.
Yes.
And my excitement for DNA behavior, and this is where I get really excited, is, you know, if you look at in the past, we've used various risk profilers to kind of get a risk profile with kind of identify your appetite and your propensity to risk, and that will see you pick a fund. We came from the other side. We said, no, that's got nothing to do with it. If you are in hell and you say, it's a little bit hot in here, it's objectively hot. Yes, objectively hot. So the same with your finances is an objective thing. It is an objective thing that needs to be achieved. So I was on the other side of the aisle shouting about this objective truth about your finances. I don't care how you feel about it. This is what you need, and this is what you need to do. So, but I did mention I was very stupid in the beginning. So I think now I realize you can't divorce the two. You need to bring the two together. If we can use all the data points that you have on human behavior, and we can weave that in from the moment that you budget. Simple things. Some people should not carry a credit card with them. They should lock it away. It should take them at least an hour or two to get to their credit card if they are impulsive. So there are behaviors that will sabotage our best intentions to save. And because we are human, it's very, very difficult for us to see 30 and 40 years, never mind. Well, it's difficult for us to see the end of next month, never mind 30 or 40 years ahead. So if we understand a little bit better how people will behave, and we recognize and appreciate that there are various styles, then maybe if we marry the two, we can help them discover this remarkable life, help them kind of engineer successful outcomes. So that to me that's where the excitement lies.
Yeah, because I think one of the big clues for people in what a remarkable life is going to be for them is in their human behavior, how they're wired, and also then how do you help them get there? It's not the same journey for everybody, and the human behavior sees what people's strengths are going to be towards towards a certain life, and what their struggles are going to be, and how to navigate that. And as you say, I think if you look at money, has got an objective side to it in terms of of the rand, or how many rand have you got, and how much do you need to survive, but there is an emotional side to it as well. And that's where the sabotage starts to take place because of human emotion. We need to understand all of that to put it together, as you say, as a package. But Kobus, as we wrap this up, you're an innovator, an extraordinary innovator, very strong. Your underlying purpose, I think, is to help people live a remarkable life and use systems to help many get there. How do you see yourself being remembered by others out there in the world, and how do you want others to look at you?
I think I would like to be remembered, and this is what I strive for. If people think of me, they should say he was a good presence, and that to me articulated in kindness, fairness, and creating and hopefully I hope that Allegiance Consulting is my legacy, that it is a place where people can bring their genius. It's a happy place. And I say this to all the team members. It's supposed to be a happy place. And I said, when long after I'm gone, I hope that the spirit is one of, we really want to make a dent in the universe and make the world a little bit better. And that can be so many things, but we hope that what we do, we really can make the world slightly better. And I think I want to be remembered for the person who engineered environment and social responsibility into ordinary things that people wanted to do in discovering their remarkable lives, because it's not divorced. If we can weave that into, so if I can be remembered for someone like that, when where a good presence, kind and gentle soul, never arrogant, always in learning mode, always in learning mode, a good energy, and actually made a difference in the world. I think that is what I would love to be remembered for.
Yeah, so I put that together because there's been a number of, things we've talked about today in getting to this important place. But I think empowering people to live a remarkable life is a big part of it, and the software is the engineering platform to help them do it and see the pathway to, firstly discovering it and then putting it all together, and then bringing kindness and genius into the process. But I think the empowerment of people to be able to live a remarkable life is the key thing.
Spot on.
So thank you, Kobus. So is there anything else you'd like to, just sort of a quick wrap-up point you'd like to say to our listeners today, point of wisdom, a book they should read, something that people should go and do?
If a book that I read recently is the 5 a.m. Club. The 5 a.m. Club. Brilliant book. Also written by the same author, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And so that is the book today, top of mind. And Tiny Habits of BJ Fogg. Strongly recommend that book. I think the parting thought is this, and I am really excited about this journey with DNA behavior, and I think that we are on a journey of discovery, and I think we ain't seen nothing yet. I am super excited about, and I think my parting thought is watch the space. Watch the space. I think we might have struck oil in weaving DNA behavior into objective financial planning. So I'm very excited about that.
Well, I'm equally excited, Kobus, to be going on this journey with you, no matter how long it takes. We will be talking about this in 40 years' time. And I think why it's so interesting for me and why I'm touched by it at the core is because I think for around a similar level of time, you started off as a lawyer, I started off as a chartered accountant, a tax specialist, but somehow we've converged into this space and can work as partners together. And we both, know it's more than about the money, and we're both working on our personal energy as well, because I've recently read the 5 a.m. Club, and I've always been a person that got up at 5 a.m. It's just an instinctive thing to do, but I now know why I do it and why it's good for me as well. And so but this is all part of helping us help others have a remarkable life. So thank you
so much for having me.
It's a pleasure.
It was great fun.